Anthony Edwards is a baller, stud. I love watching this guy play. My son and I really get into it. Probably the most exciting player in the NBA right now. Makes me excited to create graphics. I make graphics for him all the time. So today is gonna be no different. Gonna walk through this Ant-Man graphic I created, kind of inspired by Ant-Man, Quantumania. I don't know, I just wanted to do something different. I hadn't done anything in the purple uniform yet. So I wanted to bring those colors out and just try something new. So we'll walk through it. I set up the layers kind of like I always do. The graphic's already done. It's kind of easier for me to show the process, how it was built up, step by step versus, kind of making it as I go. Just easier to break it down. So here we go. So what you see here is the final graphic. Like I said, it was inspired by Quantumania, the movie posters. I just wanted to do something that was kind of like molecular, like an atom, I guess, some DNA kind of feeling, something like that. In the movies, it gets shrunk down and you can go inside stuff and it goes to this sort of universe. It sort of looks like I don't know, kind of the inside of a body, if you will. So again, using the purples of the Purple Rain uniforms and just making him seem small, like an ant, I guess. In the background seem real big, but have like a good energy, a good vibrance to it. So started off, white layer, like everything else. On the right, you'll see, dude, my layers are a mess. I'm a regular guy. This is how I design. I'm not OCD with layers. I just kind of go. This is actually really clean compared to what I normally do. There are all kinds of like layers with eyeballs turned off and things like that. It's chaos. It's organized chaos, but this is just how I operate. And I think a lot of people probably do the same. I'm not going to clean it up for YouTube. So anyway, found this stock background, sort of looked like molecules, if you will, maybe like a bloodstream, I don't know. So started with this, and then I added in and masked off. You can see down here in the mask, I'm gonna turn the mask on and off. So I pretty much just replicated the background, slid it up to the side. I didn't really like how it was just dark in the top right corner. So I slid that up there and really brought light and energy to that side. If you can see in the final one, the light is really coming down from the side, like into his face. So I wanted to make a background that kind of replicated that. So moving a little bit forward, over here I added a levels layer to this one. So before and after, wanted a little bit of contrast in there. I really think contrast makes it pop. Next step was to add a purple kind of gradient fill over it. And I always do a blend diff in here. I opened up my layer panel so you can see, and you can see this current top layer. And I set it to soft light. I adjusted the opacity to 51. But you can see, so this is, if it was at 100, it would be like this. So you hold down Option and you can break these apart, which helps the blend. And so I really wanted kind of a soft purple coming through. And so you get it down to 51% opacity on soft light, and that's what it looks like. So before, after, not a lot of change, but just, a little bit of something. And then I added a color balance layer, and I'll show you my settings over here on the right where the blue and the red have been adjusted, the green barely. And this gives it that nice kind of purple start. Really orange before, now we're saturating our colors. Next step, not sure what you call this. Envato is where I got it, called abstract background. I did a blend diff on this too. I'll show you what it looked like to start out. I have it set to subtract as the blend mode, but this is it normally. So again, set it to subtract, kind of get it black, and then I broke these apart to have it blend a little bit better. I'm gonna cancel this because I've already done it. I was just showing you how I got there. And so this is just another added piece that gets a little bit of depth from the background between him and the background to separate. Okay, the next step here is just an orange glow. Going from, again, I added the black things to it. Wanted to do an orange glow because he's gonna be in the middle, so just add something there to kind of pop it off. Here I added a white. The orange is set to soft light. Again, blend diff over here. You can see And then I added a white, pretty sure overlay. Nope, just on normal. So just a white soft brush right behind him. When it comes together, you can see, you know, it's got a little bit of a glow back there. So white soft brush here. This is not a lot of change you can see in here. I always add a grain layer though. I just like the way it blends things together. So there's a grain. You can zoom in and show you without and with. Okay, you see this a lot in my work. I don't know why I've used it for years, and I'm just gonna keep on using it. It's just a plastic, literally a plastic texture that I will drop in, and you can see it on the sides. Here, I just think it looks cool, so this looks cool. All right, now we're starting to bring our title in. The title was not purple. I don't have the adjustment layers for that, but it was red. It was the Marvel Ant-Man cover, or title bar. I just made it purple to match the uniform. I don't have that file, but here's how it is. I originally did it across the top. It was kind of dull, and so I originally did it across the top. It was dull. I didn't like it. It was kind of him flying, and it just looked like a magazine sort of cover. And so I just brought it to the side, or I brought it down to the middle, turned it, gave it that just something different, you know. So yeah, and then trying to match the lighting. So the lighting is coming from that top corner we talked about in the beginning. So here's a grain again, because I will show you that I added colors and I added shadows and things like that. So grain helps it blend. You don't get banding and things like that. So starting to stack these up. I know this looks like brown, but it's set to difference mode. So it gives it this kind of bluish, sort of cool, kind of psychedelic color. And then there's another sort of soft turquoise. And I just parent these layers. If you hold down Option between the layers, you can see the arrow changing, and what that does is it parents these things to that, so it'll only affect that title. Oh, I'm just turning layers on and off. I'm messing up my own thing. So here we go. Added a shadow. Let me just backtrack a little bit. So added my title in, then I added a shadow coming from the top. You can see it right here. This group shadow, this is from Shadowfy. Here's the plugin, Shadowfy 2. You have to Google it, not really sure where I got it from, but it is a plugin. You hit go and it just adds the shadow for it. It's pretty automatic. Pretty cool. All right, so again, this is the phase where we've added the grain. The grain is in here. Now I'm starting to add these colors in. Here's that brown once again on the difference mode, I believe. Yep, difference. And then now I'm hitting it with that soft turquoise. Now I'm hitting it with a white. And so all these kind of colors are stacking up to kind of give it this, I think, pretty cool look. And here he is, Anthony Edwards. I should have turned this off. So here it is if I'd have brought him in regular. This is just the regular photo. I always use Nik Color Effects Pro. I have some settings that I use and it sharpens it, makes it look a little HDR, which you will see now. So you can see before and after, kind of flat. This is a regular photo. It's how it comes from the arena. This brings out the shadows and highlights, and it gives it a little bit of a depth. And so now, right here, kind of changing the hue a little bit, made it really purple. You can see it popping up on the basketball and the front of him. Now I've got a levels layer that I've added on top to give it a little bit of a contrast. And so I'm gonna start pushing that contrast in it to bring those shadows and highlights back in the dynamic way that I like, on top of the details. And then I'll dodge and burn some things. I'll change his hue to purple, a little bit of an orange behind him, and just try to match the lighting effects of the piece. And so you'll see that coming up in the next few slides. So here, adding shadows to his back before and after, lights hitting him from the front, so obviously his back will have some more shadows, so sometimes you gotta fake it. Highlights to the front, again, light hitting him from the front, so we add some light to the front. saturation, this is overall saturation right here. You can really see it in his face kind of coming on and off to kind of warm him up. So look at his face as I go before and after. This is just a kind of a magenta color fill that I put over. Soft light again, blend diff on it. This one's set at 100% opacity, but you can see that it kind of brings him to match the background overall. And then right here, this is an orange soft brush before. After, it's kind of hitting sort of, you can see under his underarm. Just really something to again, try to match the background with the coloring. Shadow behind him, came in, really want to offset him from the title. So added a shadow behind him, pushed it a little bit this way because light's coming this way, so shadow will go that way. I really like to be as realistic as I can, even though these are very surreal graphics, but I try to be as realistic as I can as far as like, if the light hit it a certain way, what does that look like? Gradient map fill. I'll show you the map. So it's set to soft light. I'll bring it back to normal and I'll turn the blend diff off so you can see naturally what it looked like. So this is the gradient, just going from kind of a magenta to a purple to a magenta again, nothing crazy. But when you put it to soft light, when you put it to blend diff and you pull those sliders all the way, you get something like this. There you go. So you get that. So it really, it starts to just pull literally the entire thing. So we've set, you know, the background, we set the title, we set him. Now we're setting everything to come together. So we're really starting to pull these pieces together. Again, whoop, I'm doing it, messing up my stuff again. All right, so I've got some dust particles that I brought in, top and bottom. I'll turn them on and off again so you can see just more stuff. You know, he's flying through this, I don't know, molecular space, and I want to have depth. I want to have a lot of life going on. So just more things to really make it not so flat. So this is lens dust, stock lens dust. Set it to screen. Okay, well, I had to look over here. Set it to screen. Screen knocks out the black, right? So if we have a particle that's just on flat black, you set it to screen. Then you can do a blend diff if you want to kind of really help blend that black a little bit further. I set it to screen, it worked just fine for what I needed. I didn't have to do anything else. So that's it. And then kind of counterintuitive, you would think, but I added just a solid orangish yellow layer over everything. So I had everything blend kind of purpley and do these things. And now I'm just bringing in an orange, set at 58%. Blend diff again, same exact settings. I'm just a creature of habit. This is what I always do. So the blend diff will, on soft light, almost always will have the sliders pulled all the way to the side. So I don't have to show it every time. Vignette across the bottom, you can see right here, darkening the bottom. Light again coming from this way, so it'd be dark down there. I would have done it anyway on any other graphic, but it really makes sense whenever you have the light coming in from a certain way. I've got a little bit of a color adjustment here to really bring kind of a metallic-y sort of look sort of through the back, which really made those colors like the purple pull through, add some blue, some hues like that, and I think just really gave it like a lot of life in here. And then, so from here, you can do Shift, Option, Command E, 4 keys all at one time. What that does is that takes all your visible layers, merges them into one. Add it right here. Oops, let me go and click like I'm supposed to. Add it right here. Made it a smart object. Oop, I guess I missed the step. Let's rewind. Okay, so we really gave it that like kind of purpley look that we really liked. And so obviously it needs text. I like to add like a team name across the top, player name across the bottom, just to give it, you know, some kind of anchor, something that the header, things like that. So this is a magenta color. These are actually magenta font. You can see it in here and in here. And I set it to exclusion. Exclusion gives it that effect with the magenta to where it's really kind of psychedelic, right? And the whole thing's kind of got this psychedelic vibe at this point. You don't just want to slap text on there, but like Anthony Edwards, you know, wanted to make it feel like it's a part of a scene. So the next step was to add the camera raw filter. If you do Shift, Option, Command, E, Shift, Option, Command, E, all at the same time, you merge all your layers. And if you convert it to a smart object, then you can add camera raw filter, and you can adjust that later if you want to. If you do it on a rasterized layer, once you apply it, you're done. So I converted it, hit Control on the side, come over here, convert to smart object. Then I hit camera raw, and I'll show you what the settings are that I used. So here's my camera raw, here's my light adjustments on it, here's my color sliders, looks like I did an effect. Yep, I bumped up my texture and clarity, a little bit of sharpening, not too much, and then a little bit of color calibration in here. And so again, if it's a smart object, you can come in here and edit these settings and tweak it if you want to. And so when I created that layer, it looked like this. After camera raw, looks like this. Really just kind of push that saturation. So then again, Shift, Option, Command, E, take all those layers, including the one I just adjusted with camera raw, make a new layer, and I add something called Analog Effects Pro 2. This is also Topaz, it all comes in there. And so this gives me, like, you can really see it now when I turn this mask off. It's kind of this sort of 3D sort of look, like if you take your 3D glasses off and you can see the colors kind of pull. It gives it that kind of vibe. So you can see, I'll zoom in, and you can see the greens, and you can see the magentas kind of move like that. So off and on, and which I think is really awesome, especially for a piece that gives this kind of feel. And then I added a mask to kind of knock it out of his face. His face needs to be clear. The logo on his chest needs to be clear. You don't want everything to kind of have this sort of 3D sort of look. Then it just looks really out of focus. So the wolves, the Marvel, his face, kind of everything in here is all in focus now, but then you're gonna get this 3D sort of effect going on around it. And then last but not least, it's something called Prettyizer. I've said it in my other videos. I got this from Totally Rad Actions back in like 2007. They made wedding photo presets, and so this was one of them, and I like to apply it to what I do almost every time. I think it looks really cool. If I'd have left it at 100%, it would have looked like this, which sometimes is too blurry, too soft. So here I dropped it down to 49%. And so yeah, this is it. This is the final piece in the Anthony Edwards, we'll call it Quantumania Ant-Man graphic that I created. I appreciate everybody watching. Go like, subscribe. I'm gonna drop some more of these. Thank you.